Yeah, go ahead and finish what you were saying on that.
Yeah, basically, was just saying that for everyone who thinks that there's so many pictures of Earth, obviously there isn't. And I think one of the best lines or most important lines in that whole little interview was him talking about the Apollo images and saying that the Apollo images are all an Earth put onto a black background, which doesn't make any sense because if you're taking an image of Earth from a distance, let's say 50,000 miles, how would you get the Earth out of the image to place it on a black background, and why would you do that? If you're able to take an image from 50,000 miles, then you just have an image of the Earth in the black background of space. So all of that makes no sense.
And that's what we see with the FTP server website that you found. Many Earth photos, not really photos, but they're models, but they have transparent backgrounds, and that's simply to post it or paste it over a black background, which, Rob Simon is a lead, data visualizer of NASA, and he tells you that this is how they do it. And what got me is he said, not only are most photographs of the Earth pasted over a black background, he said, including the Apollo images.
Right.
And that is just the most condemning thing I've ever heard. So now I can't look at an Apollo image the same. Nobody should. After this guy said that, every Apollo image that you've seen of the Earth, you should now be like, something's not right, because he just said, including the Apollo images. So yeah, they paste over black background, and we're going to show people today many examples and obvious proofs that they do. Not that I have to prove it, but we can prove it. But you also have their own words to use against them.
Absolutely. So Archer's been doing a bunch of work, and how many videos do you have at this point? It's a ton.
Yeah, like 90 in 2.5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been putting together a lot of, and tell everybody where they can find you, what your channel name is, and kind of what your goal is or what your intent is with the videos you've been doing.
Yeah, well, the main thing I focus on is I've realized to get people to see things from our point of view, you have to actually show them that there's something wrong with the space agencies, with the images, because that's what most people think, right? When you think of like the Earth, you think of an image. So if you can prove to them that that they are faking images of Earth, and then that they even admit that they pasted over a black background, that's what I want to focus on. So my channel, I mostly take NASA statements and quotes and use it against them, which may not be the best idea because you're kind of using a lie to prove another lie. But in the end, you got to go and look at what they actually put out there. If you just look a little bit, if you just do a little bit of research, you'll see the types of things that they're saying just don't make sense, but at the same time make perfect sense as to why the images are the way they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you that it's important that people see, because it makes a big difference, and I can understand why, that if somebody tells you that there's no pictures of Earth, and people think that a composite is the same thing as an actual image, they say, oh, well, no, they're just composites, that's the same thing. Well, it depends on what you're talking about, right? Because I can do a composite image where, let's say I'm taking a 360 panoramic shot of, my town or whatever from the top of my house. So I keep spinning and I keep taking an image, and then I go back in some sort of software and I paste those images all together. Well, technically, that is a composite image, and it is a true representation of the area around me. But I also can take an image of Archer, for instance, and I could plug him in there. And it's also a composite image, but it's no longer a true representation of what is going on when I spin around and look at the world. So we have to be careful when we just talk about a composite image, because, can a composite image be a true representation of reality? It can, but it doesn't mean that it is.
Yeah, and that text box, you might have to keep sliding your screen up. I'm not sure if that will get rid of it, But yeah, one of the things that I thought was very weird on his page is he said without these alterations, the image wouldn't look very Earth-like.
Like he knows.
Okay, so he's saying, without Photoshop, the image wouldn't look like Earth. That's like saying, Jaron, I'm gonna paint you in Photoshop, okay? And if I didn't do that, it wouldn't look like you. Is that what he's saying?
Makes no sense.
That's what he's saying.